What does President Trump's latest alleged lawsuit against Jerome Powell have anything to do with Bitcoin? What does Australia's digital ID verification just for using a search engine have to do with Bitcoin? What does Tehran's civil unrest have to do with Bitcoin? What does Ross Stevens' annual letter have to do with Bitcoin? What do 1982 pennies and 1964 dimes have to do with Bitcoin? All of these things are seemingly disconnected, but when you look at them closely, they're all pulling on one single thread. We are all a part of a system that is on its last leg and that is collapsing. I'm going to break down what all of these disparate things mean and what they mean for Bitcoin. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. In Tehran, people are lining the streets, protesting to their government because their currency is collapsed. It's collapsed to the point to where they can't even afford basic necessities for everyday life. Just yesterday, they protested for a second straight day because it now takes 1.42 million Iranian rials for just $1. How can you survive in a world where literally 20 years ago, it was 70 Iranian rials to $1. Now do you understand why the Iranian government was paying citizens to rat out people who were Bitcoin mining just a few months ago? People don't understand that for some, Bitcoin is a luxury, mainly Americans and Westerners. And for some, like people in Iran right now, it's a lifeline. It wasn't about excess energy usage. It was a means of control. Ross Stevens wrote about this privilege in his annual letter. He says that 87% of humans today were born into a system without a reserve currency. Simply put, the Atlantic editors, people he's talking about, kind of fictitious people, are editors who use money is not the same way that the people around the world use money. If Bitcoin has no use case, perhaps the Atlantic editors should convert their entire life savings into Malawian kwacha and see how it goes. An Iranian human rights civil activist says, I can't use Apple Pay, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, or anything like them. I'm from Iran. I can use Bitcoin. The same thing is happening here, just at a slower pace. Our currency isn't collapsing 44% overnight, but it is collapsing 99% over 40 years. Let me give you these examples. The 1982 penny had enough copper in it that it's now worth 3 cents, or triple the value. The 1964 dime had enough silver in it that that dime is now worth $5.25. Literally almost getting to the point where you can have a minimum wage's worth of value in a single dime. When your government doesn't value your labor, your energy, your work, your savings, this is what happens inevitably. This is where inflation comes from. And the United States is the only group on the planet capable and able to create inflation for everyone else around the world. I always go back to this Milton Friedman clip whenever I'm thinking about this.
But it comes down to the same thing. Inflation is made in Washington because only Washington can create money. And any other attribution to other groups of inflation is wrong. Consumers don't produce it. Producers don't produce it. The trade unions don't produce it. Foreign sheiks don't produce it. Oil imports don't produce it. What produces it is too much government spending and too much government creation of money and nothing else. Yes, sir.
You are paying the government whenever they have taxes in excess of what the value that they bring to their citizens or whenever they create money. And this Trump quote highlights for me, even though it is petty, and we all know that Trump is petty, it highlights for me exactly what goes on when the government doesn't value your dollar the same way that you do. You have excess spending and waste. And this is why President Trump is considering a lawsuit against Jerome Powell for gross incompetence.
We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence. Because think of it, these aren't outstanding buildings. These are small buildings. He said $4 billion more. It's going to end up costing more than $4 billion. $4 billion. It's the highest price of construction. Again, Democrats, highest price of construction per square foot in the history of the world. There's never been. Gorgeous monuments are built for a much smaller price.
The system is so corrupt that even people in Washington know and understand what's going on, and they're positioning themselves for the future of this. It's unfortunately so corrupt that the politicians are front-running the trades they know will happen. Take Dave McCormick as an example. He's purchased $1.6 million worth of Bitcoin since entering Congress. It now controls 42% of his portfolio. And unfortunately, if you look at Nancy Pelosi or even people like him, who have a salary of less than $200,000 a year, but somehow have net worths worth of tens of millions of dollars, they front run trades because they know what's happening. And this is why you need to protect yourself with superior stores of value in asset classes like Bitcoin. Before we go any further in the show and connect the last few dots, let's thank our sponsors. Ledn has been the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans since 2018, issuing over $9 billion worth of loans to tens of thousands of customers across the world without losing a single cent or sat of customer money. They've done so with fast, efficient, and transparent values, which is why they have over 1,000 five-star customer reviews on Trustpilot. You can trust them because they are the first digital lender to do a digital proof of reserves. You can also trust them that because when you post your Bitcoin collateral, well, you can look at the address where your Bitcoin sits in the platform and how it doesn't move. If you want a $1,000 loan in fiat, well, you post $2,000 in Bitcoin collateral. It's simple, fast, and transparent and requires no credit check. Go to learn.ledn.io to get your first loan for 12.15% if you go to the link. Everyone else has to get it at 12.4%. Again, no credit checks, and the application process takes just 2 minutes. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply to get started. One of the ways that people are benefiting from this recent run up in silver and gold is that they've been holding silver and gold in physical custody and storage. Well, did you know that you can do the same thing with Bitcoin? Yes, you can hold the keys to your Bitcoin yourself, just without a vault collecting dust and moth and rust. You can learn how to do this privately, safely, and securely by scheduling a free 30-minute meeting with the team at the Bitcoin Way. Members of their team will walk you through how to do this safely, confidently, and securely. Don't wait to become fully sovereign. Yesterday, silver extended its monster year to going up 185%, its greatest year-to-date increase since 1979. And what this shows me is that people who say that Bitcoin can have exponential price runs are wrong. These asset classes are much bigger and much greater in value than even Bitcoin. And when they can run up 80%, 90%, 100%, you have to understand that the same thing is possible for a $1.7 trillion asset class, who hasn't experienced its digital squeeze yet. And when you look at the M2 money supply growth, Bitcoin is a hedge against excess money creation, and it is good for the dollar over time if you actually hold Bitcoin, because as you know, with the Iranian rial or holding a dime or silver, is that your dollar in value will be debased against hard currency. Listen to Coinbase CEO talk about this phenomenon.
By the way, Bitcoin in an indirect way is helping the dollar. People sometimes say, well, isn't Bitcoin a threat to the dollar? I would say it provides a check and balance on the dollar in the sense of, if there's too much deficit spending or inflation in the US, people will flee to Bitcoin in times of uncertainty. So democracies around the world, including the United States, as I'm sure you're aware, they are trying to figure out how to fix deficit spending, right? The incentives are just not aligned to actually balance the budget. And it might be okay to have 2 to 3% inflation if the economy is growing 2 to 3%. But if your inflation outstrips the growth of the economy, you'll eventually lose the reserve currency status. And that would be a massive blow to the United States. And China and these other superpowers are coming in trying to compete for that over time. So I actually think in a strange way, Bitcoin is helping extend the American experiment.
Let me leave you some toxic ideas about why we Bitcoin other than price. Let's go to Australia, the beta test for mass surveillance across the world outside of China.
Well, we all know the under 16 social media ban will come into place next month, but do you know what else is coming in for Aussie adults? As of December 27, Australians will be forced to upload government issue IDs every time they search the web while they're logged in. Google, Bing, it doesn't matter. No ID, no search. Now, the reasoning is protecting kids from adult content. No doubt that principle has benefit. We all want to keep our children safe. The reality, though, some critics say, is a full-scale experiment in digital control. Mandatory ID uploads for all users, teenagers, seniors, everyone. Facial recognition or digital ID linking is the, quote, convenient alternative.
Just 2 days ago, December 27th, they implemented a rule that says that you have to enter your ID every time that you search online. This is absolute insanity. The same thing is going to happen when you spend money on places that the government doesn't deem acceptable. Are you going to have a means, a currency, something that you can do to combat this overreach from your government? This is why people Bitcoin beyond the price. You have to understand this if you're new to Bitcoin. Going back to this clip from Thomas Jefferson, he says, the banks will deprive people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. Until there's a sly roundabout way that we can actually remove power from government and from banks, well, this is the inevitable conclusion of what happens in every society across the world since the beginning of fiat creation of currency. The whole system is unwinding, and that's why all of these little different threads that I was pulling on today actually are linked together. These are all signs of a system that does not work anymore, and you have to understand what's going in and start positioning yourself for a digital ID and verification system, for a system where your currency collapses, a system that rewards people for ratting you out for using a system that's alternative to what they are implementing, a system where governments don't have control over their currency and where politicians front run the system from the inside. Encryption with a limited supply is a great defense of government overreach and against a broken monetary system. Before we go and we end this episode, I do want to leave you with one last call out for Laura. I'm only going to be talking about this one more time. This is our exclusive bottle that we created for Bitcoiners. There's only 210 bottles. This is a 10-year bottle of bourbon that resembles a gold, if you know what I'm talking about, that's made out of Franklin, Kentucky. This was actually a project assembled for one of John Wayne's sons. It's a single barrel. It's an incredible testament to Bitcoiners, but also an incredible testament to a moment that happened in 2021 between Laura Shin and Michael Saylor, where he said, if you have the superior acid, it's going up forever, Laura. This is a bottle of Laura. This is a third halving protocol edition, and we're going to be making more. Go to laurabourbon.com if you're interested in learning more, but this is the last shout out I'm going to do for it before the end of the year. One of the last shout outs that I'm also going to do, if you need to get right with your taxes, is think about ways that you can depreciate assets against your income. The government tax system allows you to do this. One of the ways you can do that is by buying state-of-the-art mining rigs that allow you to consider them as property within an LLC. You can also be earning sats while you sleep, and this is why we recommend SAS Mining, a company that's 100% aligned with Bitcoiner values. There's no middlemen, no contracts. You buy a machine, they operate it with a contract with no messy language in between, and you get sats sent directly straight to your wallet. And it also mines Bitcoin from 100% carbon renewable energy sources, completely clean. Use this QR code to get started, and think about talking to a tax advisor or someone today if you need to learn and understand exactly how to implement this strategy. Thanks for rocking with me for 2025. This is the last episode of the year, and this is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. We thank you for appreciating it and getting on game with alpha that you can't get anywhere else. For the last time of the year, this is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Happy stacking.